Live on stage, the sound.
Orlando!
So, is they ready?
Yes!
The sound.
Orlando!
What's going on, party people? We are back, man. This is your boy Rome, live and direct from the heart of the city, Orlando, Florida, man. Let's do it, man. This is Friday, the weekend for Mother's Day. Shout out to all my mamas, baby mamas. How y'all doing? This is your weekend, so hope you guys get to have a good time throughout this weekend. Maybe put your feet up, relax a little bit, and take some time, right? We also got this crypto thing, doing a lot of things, man. If people aren't talking to you right now, and this is for my blue collar people or my people that may be suffering financially or trying to figure out a way how they're going to navigate through this new chapter of the world. If they're not talking to you about crypto, man, and trying to invest some of your money into that right now, I don't know what the hell are they doing, because right now you need to be talking to people who can guide you through this crypto boom that is about to take place. I know for a lot of us, we missed the Google boom, we missed the Bitcoin boom, and now we're on the precipice of another boom in the crypto world. If people are not talking to you about that, man, get you a new circle of friends, man. Figure out where you can find people that are in the know what's going on, that are willing to share information. It's not, I take $1 and that dollar's out of your pocket. Actually, there's so much money being pumped into crypto right now. There's money for everyone. So make sure you get around some people that can give you some information about that. And just, try to invest, man. Every little bit counts. It's a penny game. It's not a dollar game. You put pennies in and you make dollars, and that's how you got to look at it. So kudos to all my peoples that know about that crypto thing. And as well as we got, our usual craziness going on. And so all my peoples out there, man, just take care of yourself. If you know anybody that's suffering, or needs somebody to talk to, try to be that person that, they can reach out to you and, and feel like they could talk to someone without being judged, or, anytime you can help one of your family out. And I mean family as our earth family, our people. It's a beautiful day. Do not allow the world to bitter your heart. Bitterness will get you old quick. Just try your best to stay in the youthful graces of love. You tend to be young a lot longer. So shout out to everybody on that tip. Our next guest tonight represents that love for hip hop. He's been doing this thing for years. He's been on MCA. He's worked with legendary artists like King Just, Shaheem Rugged. He's got a couple projects out. He's directly from the lineage of Shaolin, Staten Island, representing, to the fullest tonight. And we like to welcome to the show our brother from another mother, the one and only Pop the Brown Hornet. Let's go.
What's going on, world? What's going on? Pop the Brown Hornet from out of Stapleton, Staten Island. What's good?
Let's go, man. Welcome to Orlando, man. We love all things Staten Island, for obvious reasons. You guys have been doing a lot of great stuff over the decades. It doesn't seem like there's any end to it, which I think is a beautiful thing. There needs representation across New York City, and you guys stepped up to the plate when it was time to do that. Going back to the Force MDs, going back, to King Just, and that whole movement, and it was a beautiful thing to see UMCs and Wu-Tang and people like yourself, like I said, telling their story. You would think a river wasn't, the Hudson River wasn't that damn big, or that damn long from New York City, but y'all got your own story to tell, and I think it's a beautiful thing. that you guys were able to have that voice for your town. Let everybody know what y'all be vibing with out there.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, there's so many different various artists back then that were trying to display and just give you different styles as well. There's so many different areas from Staten Island that need their voice to be heard, and it was good to at that time. I had early '90s, mid '90s coming out and being heard. It was strong. That's when you had to earn your stripes. MCs just couldn't jump from out of the woodworks and get on the mic. You had to earn that.
Right. Well, speaking of back then, let's take it way back. How did you get started in music, and what was your entrance to it? What made you say, okay, out of all these things in the world I could be, I want to get in this crazy ass world of hip hop and this thing of ours, the culture that we love so much. What brought you to the game?
Yeah, it definitely had to start way before just hip hop. I mean, to be musically inclined in general, it's probably genetic, and then at the same time, growing up as a child, listening to what your moms or your parents might be playing at the barbecue or whatever the case may be, or the party at the crib. So disco, from the Diana Rosses, the Diana Summers, to the Marvin Gayes, to the Luther Vandrosses, to the Teddy Pendergrasses. The list is phenomenal. So when you get into music, what got me into hip hop is the love of that. And as a child, when that was embedded in your head, and then you get into, your adolescent years, and all of a sudden there's a new form of music that's hitting the airwaves, and it's brand new to everybody, and you're being introduced to it. And something that was supposed to be allegedly a fad became a phenom. And when certain artists, I mean, you coming from Staten Island, all we had was the Force MDs. So as our juvenile years to our teenage years, a lot of the up and local MCs from Staten Island always desired to break through and make it big, because all we had was maybe the MTVs or the Ralph McDaniels, or some local video show showing you MCs that was from everywhere but where you were from. So we were thirsty to get on. When Staten Island finally got, a little dosage coming through, when the UMCs broke through, and then, Shaheem and so forth, it was like, oh man, we off to the races now. So being part of that early breakthrough, coming from out of Staten Island, the fifth borough, which was always overlooked, those early ages of disco transforming into the transition of hip hop coming through. I just wanted to be part of a movement coming out of Staten Island, because I feel like we didn't have a voice, and I definitely thought I was a candidate with a voice, and just with the skills of MCing to represent Staten Island. So that was really
and Staten Island, is it one of those places where you would assume that there is the kind of poverty that could be there, or the kind of tough life that could be there, especially back in those days? It was viewed as, a place where, cops lived, their families lived. Staten Island was, blue collar area, similar to Long Island.
I'll kind of wrap it up somewhat for you. When you think about Staten Island, out of the five boroughs, Staten Island is more the country borough. And what I mean by that, it's really nestled in with like Jersey, so it's real foresty and things of that nature. And it's predominantly, especially back then, you had a real predominantly white borough. So the black neighborhoods that were there were definitely overlooked. And anybody in the other boroughs never took the time to even try to acknowledge Staten Island. It was like, get out of here. They actually probably tried to acknowledge Long Island before Staten Island, because, like I said, when you had Rakim and when you had EPMD and so forth coming out of Long Island, we didn't really have a rugged MC representing us from out of Staten Island during the 80s like that. We had the Force MDs, and they were more R&B. So when you looked at Staten Island, it was thought of as the rich borough, white borough. Y'all got the mob out there. So, like I said, blacks were basically overlooked and overshadowed. So we always felt like we had to go extra hard coming out of Staten Island because it wasn't on the map thus far, especially as being gangster or tough or any of those things. So that's what it really, that's what it really was. Really, we had to shout extra hard to get noticed when you come out of Staten Island.
And what bugs me out, and this says a lot for Staten Island in comparison to a lot of places. Y'all motherfuckers got a train, a fucking L over there.
Oh,
like there's places that are bigger than Staten Island that don't have no fucking L, and I thought that was pretty fucking amazing.
And we have what?
L train.
I mean, shit. If you want to really count, dude, like we got one train that run through Staten Island.
Right, but that's more than a lot of places, and that always used to fascinate me. Like, because you go to Orlando, we don't have no L train. You go to Kansas City, they didn't have no L train over there. Like, so there's plenty of places that are big and have bigger populations that don't have L trains. And I thought that always used to fascinate me about Staten Island. As soon as you get off the ferry, you can hop right on the train. It might not go that many places, but shit, Chicago got a bunch of L's, but it don't go that many places neither.
Right, but that the train on Staten Island is going to take you really towards the more prominent part of Staten Island. They used to have another train that used to take you towards the terrace and up towards the harbor and stuff like that, which was more hood. So we lost our train. Maybe it'll come back.
Don't give a shit, bro. Shout out to the harbor, man. My man used to live out in the harbor, man. My man Jeremy. And we used to hang out over there, and that felt like the isolated part of the island. Like, this is where they didn't give a fuck about everybody.
That's the boondocks. Back in the days, you didn't want to go out there and start no trouble. You might as well just go out there with a casket, because if you got shot, wasn't no cops coming out there. The ambulance wasn't coming out there. That was a long way to go through the harbor. That's why we from Stapleton. We closer to the bridge. The ferry is more.
Right, you're down the hill. Down the hill.
But we below it with Stapleton. We here. Then you got to walk up the hill, and like 10 minutes away, you go to Park Hill.
Right. We used to go to these fucking keg parties when we were staying out in Staten, out at Wagner, I believe.
Wagner College. When you go up the hill, there you go.
Right up the hill, and you can see Park Hill from the top.
You go Howard Avenue, you see the Verrazano Bridge, you see Park Hill.
Right.
In the distance, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Wagner was pretty cool. Yeah, we go in them bushes over there, the little forest area right next to the edge of the hill, and you can see all of that shit. And it was pretty cool, man. Just to see the contrast, because to the top of the hill, things seemed a little bit nicer, and then you go down to like you said, that's where we had to live. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Staten Island reminds me a lot of LA, because when you go up in the hoods in Hollywood, that's where the rich is. Then when you go to the bottom of Compton and Watts and all of that, that's Staten Island. You go up to the top, that's where the bread is at. The money when you come down. Welcome to Stapleton, baby. Welcome to the slums, the 10304. Where we give it to you raw.
Yes,
Ratchets and roaches, hood rats, and thoughts.
Pretty much. I know I don't.
He said pretty much.
I know how dope Force MDs was for me. When Force MDs did that Force MDs meets the Fat Boys, that was one of the.
Who would ever believe that the Fat Boys would ever meet the Force MDs? Don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. Fat Boys take the boat.
What?
Take the boat over.
Dude, that was the shit. It was the shit. And at that time, I wasn't cognizant that they were from Staten Island, because like most things that were from New York, it just felt, it just felt like the most important thing was it was from New York. So we knew the level of excellence and how people viewed New York hip hop as sophisticated, and it just sounded like that because everywhere else sounded like renditions of it, if you will, at
Well,
that time.
from our perspective, coming from Staten Island, it meant the world because, like you said, coming from out of New York, you just expected it to be so much better because it was coming from New York. But from coming from Staten Island, when we didn't really have too many voices, and the force was going up against all the other boroughs, and they were standing out and making a name for themselves. I
Right.
thought that was fat. I was always little, but it was just big and fascinating that we would even get recognized through the Force MDs. And then when you started hearing them getting shouted out, from Crush Groove to they started making little performances in movies and things of that nature. It was just like, yo, they were our first superstars. They were our first megastars coming from out of the hood on Staten Island.
Man, talk about that. And it was just amazing because, like I said, yeah, they were technically an R&B group.
But they started out as MCs. They was the
Right,
Force
it was hip
MCs.
hop to be.
That,
It was
that
hip hop,
trend,
period.
They
Right,
was
it was
forcing.
hip hop.
No, there was hip hop. Period. No, don't get it twisted. It was hip hop. Period, and they were actually the first rapping and R&B and rap. You know, they meshed that MCing and singing, and that's what took them to superstar stardom. But they was the first ones really basically to do it, to go commercial as far as that's concerned. I mean, I ain't gonna say the first, but recognized record wise, to take it from that MCing and battling and then transform it to the wax and be singers. That was phenomenal.
Right.
And they do represent that era, from the Treacherous Three and so forth and so on. Them eras of those dudes getting busy, they're legendary for that, coming out of Staten Island. That's major.
Right. Now, obviously, most people who have been to New York visiting, you've had to go at least close to Staten Island. If you went to the Statue of Liberty, that ferry ride is memorable. Every time you ride it, it's like the train. You're gonna see some stuff that is hilarious or interesting. Talk about what it was like as you started to, like you said, with the Force MDs and artists started coming out of Staten Island. What was the vibe like over there in Staten Island? Like, how are people?
Like I said, we really didn't have a voice. So when we turned it on, whoever, the Big Daddy Kanes, the Coogee Rap, Slick Bricks, Chuck D's, and all, everybody was having a voice, a prominent, strong voice. So that's what I think. As we was in Stapleton and R&S was producing, and all neighborhoods from West Brighton, New Brighton, Manus Harbor, everybody had a MC rap group going on. It was just fortunate enough for us that the 10304 is kind of the spearhead and running in the front line of it. But during that time, like I said, everybody was in a fight to be the voice. So when you had the Prince Rakeem coming out with "Oh We Love You Rakeem" to represent Staten Island, then you, like I said, you had the UMCs with One to Grow On and stuff being produced by R&S. Shortly thereafter, you had Shaheem and stuff. So, like I said, it was just a hunger for us to be heard as a borough. And I think what happened was nobody really knew the identity of Staten Island like that. So, like I said, when you take the UMCs or Shaheem, when the Wu-Tang came out, it was like, oh, there's tough guys out there, there's tough black people out there. Like, what the fuck going on? Like, we thought it was just white or rich and you had money. So when the Wu introduced the world to Staten Island, that we got slums out here, there's projects out here, there's guns, there's shooting, there's crack, all kind of that. And they were kind of like the story, that Staten Island's first storyteller for the slums. The spotlight really gravitated towards us. And like I said, they were kind of the first ones that spearheaded on the tough hardcore MC part, but from the UMCs being universal with their sound, Shaheem being like the smallest MC in New York at that time, coming out of Staten Island. So yeah, we definitely starting to bubble and make a name for ourselves.
Do you think once the name was brought to everyone's attention, meaning Shaolin, and Staten Island, do you think people received it well in New York City? Were people just as happy in New York City for what you guys were doing, or did you receive any blowback like, nah, we ain't fucking with y'all?
Well, I'm not quite sure of the question that you asked as far as they weren't fucking with y'all, but
Well, no, I mean, like, because for a lot of people, and you see this all the time, you talked about it earlier, the idea of, some artists may go to Brooklyn just so they could have that voice, simply because people look at what you were talking about, being from Staten Island, as, you hear the stories all the time of people having resistance from their hometown, even though it's from there, but they resist it because, well, they're not used to it. We kind of suffer from that as well. We have a lot of great MCs, producers, you name it, in the industry, but for some reason, people won't receive or haven't received in the past Orlando, even the people that live here, as we would want them to receive it, and they wind up leaving for other places just so that they can have a chance to make it. Did you see any resistance from New York City as a whole in embracing what Staten Island was offering in the beginning? I know we know they received it later on, but
in the beginning, that's why I probably kind of led up to what I said as far as like the Prince Rakim coming out, "Oh, well, we love you, Rakim." That probably wasn't a good gutter hardcore song. Then when the UMCs came out, they came out with the Fushnikins, the early 90s. It was like feel good hip hop was out. So,
right.
New York probably was still on some stand there. I ain't seen nothing edgy come from up out of them yet. So by the time they heard from Protect Your Neck, I think it opened their eyes like, oh, like I said, like, there's some rugged shit coming from it definitely. But then when they heard Method Man, it even, opened up even more as far as the street edge. Like I said, the UMCs and things of that nature, definitely abstract music, hip hop, but will be categorized more as like, the party, feel happy hip hop. And then when, like I said, the Wu came through, it was more of, we coming from out of the trenches, like Staten Island is slump, like, we busting guns, we doing that stuff. And I think that's when the rest of New York was more or less like, that's what we talking about. Like, New York, you gotta remember that's the 90s, and we straight in the crack era. So being in the crack era, coming from the mid 80s all the way up, especially in the 90s strong, New York at that time definitely wanted, and representing the East Coast. The East Coast was making a resurgence because it was shifting to the West, and the down in Texas and things of that nature. And then you had the 2 Live Crew down there in Florida. So hip hop was shifting and moving around. And when the Nas's and the Biggies and the Wu-Tang came through, Wu-Tang fit right in as far as a representation for Staten Island, because the other boroughs was holding theirs down. And the Wu was a big representation for Staten Island, because if you went to Queens and you had Nas, and you went to Brooklyn, you had Biggie, you went to Bronx, you had Fat Joe, you went to, I'm forgetting somewhere, but when you had Staten Island, you got 9 motherfuckers. So now you got 9. If you win with numbers, it just looks so massive. And then in the beginning, to take to make sure and solidify that the other boroughs was feeling us, Staten Island really wanted its presence to be heard. Like I said, we had nobody to root for. So the W was the first one for us from the gutter, collectively, from New Brighton, West Brighton, Manus Harbor, Park Hill, Stapleton, to collectively push these motherfuckers up through the forefront. You know what I mean? Because like my brother's saying, you got King Just Shaheem, but we all, at the time, nobody was on. So at the time, everybody was humble. Like, come on, yo, come through, come perform, show, I'll let you rock the mic, boom, boom, boom. So brothers was making sure we pushed an agenda. It just when brothers was pushing Shaheem, I was behind Shaheem. When the W came, we pushed that through. We was at functions 100 deep, 200 deep, and that's different parts of Staten Island, getting on that ferry boat, going to whatever club the Woo was at that night and making them seem larger than life to help propel them because, like I said, we didn't have a voice. So that Woo movement was our voice.
Fucking amazing. This is exactly what we're talking about here in Orlando, Florida, about pushing those numbers. I say it all the time, and I'm going to continue to say it. Shout out to Jay-Z. Shout out to Brooklyn. We don't believe you need more people. And people always respond when they see a massive of people believing in one fucking thing, which is, like you were talking about, Staten Island. You got all those people believing in that place and believing in that story and believing in that voice, then you're going to move mountains just cause. So I think that's fucking dope. Talk about when did you start doing your thing in the music scene and start making a name for yourself?
Well, before I jumped into the music scene, I was making a lot of hits. Like I said, just ghetto hits with R&S, going up there and making numerous of hits. So I was grooming myself just like everybody else was grooming themselves. You gotta understand, you got the Wu-Tang Clan, but I'm in their age bracket, so they always knew about the Brown Hornet. I always knew about them. Before they became who they are, they ran under different names. They changed their name when they became the Clan. So the names they were prior, I knew who they were. When they changed their name, it's like anybody else. You change your name, you change your identity. Everybody changes, so it drifted off. But to say that when I got started, it was very, very, very early. My first time I got on wax, I want to say it was in the early 90s. Anybody that's a Brown Hornet fan know my first single was Can You Woo Woo Woo, or is it just the front? And the B-side of that single was Let's Go to Lab, both produced by R&S. And I want to say that was around maybe 92. 92-ish. I could be off, 91, 92. But it was really underground. It was on this label for Dolo Records, dude from out of Brooklyn or what have you. But that was the first time I was on wax. But like I said, prior to me coming on wax, I had numerous hits. So that was one of the first jumps I threw off. Can you woo, woo, woo? Or is it just the front? And it was more of a territorial Staten Island, me coming out of Stapleton. At that time when I wrote the song, I felt like a lot of the Wu-Tang members, prior to that, they were anti. So me being Staten Island, I was like, can y'all really woo woo woo? Or is it just a front? All y'all ain't really Wu-Tang. But that was more like a Staten Island song. And like I said, Let's Go to Lab was more of a hip hop.
Right.
A few years later, in 94-ish, 95, I came out with a song called Black on Black Crime. That's really my song to fame. That's the first time I think the world more or less got introduced to who Pop the Brown Hornet was. And I came out on the independent label Smoke Records. The B-side of that was GP Connection with a brother of mine, DSA. So Black on Black Crime was the song that you ask anybody in the game and you say, yo, Pop the Brown Hornet, that's probably the first song that's going to jump into their mind.
Right.
Would be Black on Black Crime. So that's more or less the first song when I got into breaking me into the industry that let me know, okay, all right, they tuned in. I might be on to something right here.
Got you. Now, you produce, you songwrite. You definitely got bars. What naturally came to you as an artist to feel like, okay, like you were saying, you could do this. Now, how do I scale this and make this go worldwide? When you have, like you said, 94, you got Wu-Tang, you got Shaheem was out at the time. You got all these people out.
King Just, UMC,
right? UMC, all this.
Now, like I told you, and all those MCs that you look at, minus Shaheem because he's younger than us. But all those other MCs, none of them ever fed me. Like, we were all individual artists at that time.
Right.
You feel me? So Brown Hornet was always his own entity. King Just his own entity. Method Man, aka Shaquan, these were solo entities. Inspector Deck, they rhyme by themselves. These dudes wasn't a part of a group. They formed the group because, like I said, Staten Island didn't have a voice, and y'all wasn't letting us in. It probably would have been real hard to get into the hip hop industry at that time as a soloist. So they formed a clan and came through, and Ghost said, they elbowed their way on, and the rest is history. But a lot of other individuals, the Shaheems, he was a soloist, King Just, soloist, Brown Hornet, soloist. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Just holding down their platform at that time, being a soloist, you had to give yourself credit, because coming at that time, like you said, you was coming with the UMCs. That's a tandem. The clan is a group. So this to even make a wave during that time when they might have been getting all the headlines, Shaheem on a major label, Virgin, it was tough. Like I said, if you didn't have lyrics, or you didn't have style, personality, or you wasn't known in the street, you wasn't going to survive. Me being here right now is due to the fact that I got credibility. Like, they know I've been doing this since way back when, and I'm still doing it now. You know what I mean? So that testifies that cream rises to the top. If not, I'd have been by the wayside a long time ago.
I heard that. And you see how the industry has changed over the years, which it kind of created a conundrum for a lot of different artists out here that are trying to figure out ways not only to sustain, but to reinvent themselves in ways that can go more towards branding than it is even the actual music, because the music has been devalued to a point where they've literally taken out all the value from it by saturating the entire market with everything and everything, which is good. I mean, there's no barriers to the market, but at the same time, it's like, damn, if you have all these selections, it just makes it for when in the 90s, we all heard the music literally damn near at the same time. If something dropped, we was like, oh shit, this dropped at the same time. We all heard it at the same time, or you knew a DJ that played it at a club or something that would have allowed you to hear it, and then you want to go out and try to buy the album. But we don't do that anymore now. So it's kind of like, how do we bring value back to the music? Talk about some of the things that you've seen as an artist going through these changes over the past, I'd say maybe about 20 years, 15 years. You've seen how music has changed, or the deliverance of it. How, based on your knowledge and experience, how do you kind of experience that? How did you experience that change?
The change in the music industry?
Right. And the ability to compete within what's there. Because for a lot of us, we look at it like, okay, boom, there's an independent movement, which is awesome. That means you can bring your songs, your product to market without anybody's permission. But at the same time, there's artists that they make it a point. They press everything up on vinyl that they do, and they make it exclusive. They make it tangible. They make it valuable. And then you have these artists that they don't care about that. All they want is streams. And so, like, the industry has changed in a weird way, where streams don't necessarily mean income. And then, as a artist that's independent, maybe you press up vinyl, your fans are now niche fans. So you may have 100,000 people that follow you or support what you're doing, but it's not like it was before, where it was you were probably open to the entire world in a way without a big budget of marketing. You kind of got to develop that over time with creating these relationships. Just talk about how those changes throughout the industry have kind of made you more who you are right now, as in the present.
Yeah, you said it definitely said a mouthful, but I think, there's been a lot of changes, but one thing I say as far as me, one of the changes as far as social media and all of that coming, being part of the music industry years ago and not really liking the politics of it, it kind of made me step back a little bit and just, live life, regular shit. This music is not gonna make a break me. You're living your life and being happy with yourself, whatever it is that you're doing, being content with. That's what you should do. But
Absolutely.
when the music business started shifting, and it wasn't so. I grew up in an industry where you had the A&Rs and things. They was all hovering above you, and they wanted to put their finger and dictate this, that, and the third. And when you sign to these labels, you think they're into you. In all actuality, you're a tax write-off, and so you're dealing with so many emotions and so many people that really don't even know nothing about hip hop, and they trying to find a way to promote you. And how can we do this? Shut the fuck. This. Let me record and let me drop my shit. And that's where music is at now for an independent. You know what I mean? So the freedom to say, let me go into the studio, drop what I feel is hot, press it up and spit it out there into the universe. And like you said, I mean, you might have to drop it digitally. You could do it both, especially as an independent. You can drop it digitally, and then if you got a wax connection where you can put it on wax, and you can cut a deal where he's gonna press up whatever, pay you, and he's gonna boom, and if they sell, he's gonna reorder it. That's the independent move. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially now that things are starting to open back up. And I think that venues and people is gonna want entertainment of all sorts. Everybody can't book the Jay-Z, Beyonce type, so they might only could afford the Brown Hornet. Bring it on. You know what I mean? Or they might only afford those independent artists who might have a cult following. And that's why we do what shows that we do right here, right now, because they're not hearing the Brown Hornet on the FM dial around the nation. They hear them on up and coming channels and stations. So you just have to in your mind state. You have to figure this is just like any other campaign. If you're running for president, you just can't one day be president. No, you have to start your campaign and get the awareness out there, and eventually during that campaign, you're going to be endorsed by. You're going to have a speech that these people are going to be like, "Yo, that's the one for us. Let's endorse him. Let's put his money by." So, and that's the same with this music. You know what I mean? I've been in it for years. I made it my business to come back. I'm not hindering on my past, making it to my future. I'm hindering on what I've done right here, right now, and what I'm built for. I know I have a foundation to walk on. That's why I'm able to be on your show and talk my smack, because it's I got credibility. I got years in this business. Now I want to back it up with hits and hits and hits. And as if I get this movement going on, and I get roamed down, and I got my peoples in Orlando. They pump. You know what, Brown Hornet? I'm feeling them. I'm feeling his music.
Right.
And over in Texas now, and we passing the word. Every journey begins with one step. Back in the days in the 80s and all of that, there used to be DJs that was able to break a song. You know what I mean? Like you said, sometimes we heard it at one time, but then it was a record that a DJ said, you know what? I'm gonna go against fuck the program director. This needs to be heard. Psh, let's break this. Right. I don't see DJs breaking anything. That's
they can't. No,
I know.
They can't. And a lot of them, I used to be angry, even as a DJ, because my nature's rebellion. I love resisting. Give me a movement to resist, and I'm there. But they can't. That's the thing that's not really said. By them doing what we want them to do, or what we grew up like these kids, they don't know what breaking records are. They don't know it. So to them, every record is a breaking record, right? But we know what a breaking record is. It's not in rotation. It's something we've never heard before, and they can't do it. They don't have the power to do it. Like you said, the record companies, what they used to do to artists, they now do to on-air talent. They literally have A&Rs in there. They literally have ownership, program directors, people who are saying, no, you cannot go against the grain here, or you'll be fired. You lose a sponsor, you're fired. Like they have they literally work for people. The
So that's
DJ
why
we grew up with was free.
So that's why when you say, the music and doing it now and how do you feel and how's it changed or whatever the case may be, like you sitting here saying that these DJs can't go out there and break a record. You have program directors. When you hear the word program, that right there tells you that your favorite artist. No, we have to play what was programmed. So how does a little Nas X make it to become little Nas X out of nowhere? Because he's part of the program,
Right.
Brown Hornet.
And these companies, I don't mean to cut you off, these companies, these Clear Channels, these iHeart Radios, they're really the record companies. They're the record companies. You're literally to get your stuff played through national mediums and to get advertisement, billboards, and all of this stuff that we look at it as like, blah blah. But they've actually bought up all the billboards. Clear Channel, one of the biggest companies in America that has I don't know how many stations. They now own the billboards. They now own networks, and so literally getting on with them is damn near the equivalent of signing a record deal. And they only want to play their artists, their rosters, the people that sign with them. And as a DJ, you're literally having to sign a record deal with them. Like, okay, I'm only going to play your artist. Ain't no features, and the features or, breaking of records, all that shit is sanctioned. So the little guy, we're back to being the little guy again.
And my thing is this, right? Now you say they can't do it, they this, they that. These stations are supposed to be, especially local stations. These stations are supposed to be here for us.
For us, Talk your shit, bro. They're supposed. My bad. My bad. They're supposed to represent us. It's taxation without representation. You feeding us this stuff, and it doesn't represent us. How the fuck is that viable? How is that a long-term viable? They're literally the equivalent of a McDonald's or Burger King. That food wasn't raised here. You didn't farm it here. You didn't make it here. It's being shipped to us. So the quality becomes the equivalent of what, a $1 cheeseburger, double cheeseburger would be. And that's what I'm saying. Like, they've devalued our music so much that it comes down to how, as an artist, as an independent artist.
This is my question.
Yeah.
Right? Because knowing is half the battle. So if you could sit there and know that you've been in this business for a while, and that you know that you have program director, we have so many things to sabotage our music and then stop us from really getting the true nutrients from our music. Because food is food for thought. Food soothes the savage beast. We get so much from music.
Yes.
So if we have radio stations, there's no way in the world. It's mind-boggling to me how we could have the Mecca of New York, and these radio stations out here is dropping bombs and playing shit from all other parts of the country, which I'm not, but there has to be in New York somewhere on that radio dial, someone owning it, playing hip hop, traditional classic hip hop, whether it be from the 80s or somebody doing classic traditional hip hop right here, right now in 2021, such as the Brown Hornet. You have to keep that essence and that stuff alive because you have to give the people what they want. I forget what the channel is out there in Chicago, but that's a 24-hour hip hop radio station that plays all the curses. And I remember I did that show back in the 90s, and they still relevant to this day. Like, you know what I mean? Right. So, radio isn't what radio used to be anyway, because you got satellite radio and so forth and so on. But still in all, for the free dialers and for just anybody who wants to flick down the dial, it would be fantastic if I could have a dial in New York City.
Well, dude,
I don't have to hear this nonsense that I'm hearing religiously,
right?
Religiously push that. Then tell you, yo, we playing the hottest joints in the club, and I'm like, that's what they joined to. I mean, first of all, they don't even dance like they used to in the club. Everybody got a phone. They're like, they ain't even doing. Who you fool? Okay, they recording. Girls dance with their phone now in the clubs. They don't even dance with you. I mean, don't tell me nothing's popping in the club. Just say that you're programmed to play that, and this is what you want to make hot, and that's that. Because in all actuality, me and you both know they can make any song in the world could be made hot as long as you throw it in rotation. That's that.
Right. And then rotation is the equivalent of advertising. Well, if the artist is sponsored by the companies that are advertising, then they changed the whole idea of what payola is now. If the company itself that is sponsoring the artist, they're not going to allow any other artists, especially if they got 3 or 4 artists that they're sponsoring. They're not going to allow any other artists to be played in that rotation. The rotation's what? It's just to bypass the law of payola. The businesses are doing it now. So they're like lobbyists in Congress, in our government, lobbying for shit that we don't have the power to lobby. You're not going to sit outside Hot 97 or 104 point whatever and sit out there all night, with your millions of dollars to say, hey, we'll advertise on your show, but you got to play these artists because, they're selling our products right now. You're not going to do that. The artists can't do that. The artists can't pay these people to play the song, but the businesses can. And that's a hack. That's a workaround. We live in that world now where, like I said, we're up against money and businesses, which are the minority. They know that. We know that. It's just, when are we going to get to the point where we say, like you said earlier, about having that massive presence that we demand through our not needing them, through our building other lanes, to where they become so insignificant that they now have to change the way they treat us as a community, because we've brought back the value to it. And the only way people respect people's values is when they lose money. And now they want to, they'll get behind Black Lives Matter if they start losing sponsorships, right? Like, they listen when they start losing money. And part of our like, hopefully our track record moving forward as a people in 2021 and beyond is that we need to start realizing our power. Our power is in our numbers as a collective. I remember going in a fucking crazy car that my wife got, and there was the radio did not work, and we were on our way to New York, and I'm fucking Looney Tunes. I need to have this radio come on right about somewhere in on the turnpike as I'm approaching New York, because that was my ritual. Like, first thing I need to do is tune into Hot 97, see what's going on, and hear the sound of the city.
Right.
But for a lot of folks that live in the city, it's no longer the sound of the city. Or maybe it is, and maybe the people that are listening to it aren't realizing it. I'm not saying it's one or the other, but I do remember being able to listen to Down Bottom, Juvenile, Method Man, Nas, like listening to the whole entire gambit in a balanced way. And these media outlets right now are not balanced at all.
Oh no.
It's not fair to anyone in their respective cities, and it's not fair to artists like yourself that should be, Second Amendment, First Amendment freedom of speech, should be able to occupy airwaves when they're saying that they represent us.
What's so sad is the fact that when you have programmed, everybody's programmed. So, like you said, if they're programmed to play something, and the music that they program to play, You know, like I hear some of the young kids out there in the streets say, yo, Brown Hornet, you want to get on, man, you got to start rhyming about drugs and shooting and hoes and this, that, and the third. They're not trying to hear you. And that's what the radio is. And that's who the people that's programming our kids in our streets. They program these these radio stations to play rhetoric because that's the programming that they want in the street. So they're not going to play a strong from Brown Hornet like or straighten it out because they don't want the streets to be straightened out. They want everybody to be chaotic, popping pills, fentanyl popping, you know, out there twerking, selling your ass. I mean, this is what they'll preach one thing on the TV though, say no to drugs, but then they'll be funding, you know, the artists in the radio to play their programming that's really designed to keep us where we're at, confused, taking drugs, taking liquor, high, partying. They want us so they can push their agenda as far as, you know, the rest. But if they really was concerned about their country, and this is what really baffles me, whenever you care about, I mean, if you care about your house, there's going to be a time when you want to say, you know what, the weather's changing, let me do some spring cleaning. Let me clean up around here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's no spring cleaning being done. You know, all it is a bunch of, when I hear the music, it's like this artist is going to take the time to talk about opioids, fentanyl, scissor, sluts, and twerking. Now that I'm going to pass the baton to you. You say the same thing, but just use, and some of them is using the same beat. I mean, it's confusing to me. It's trashy.
Did you ever think New York would become the symbol of like radio across the country, which is crazy? Like that was the only like island that for the longest, they had the longest run, maybe outside of California. California has been keeping it real from day one. They play their people. They play a diverse selection of hip hop, but they do play. This is a corporate plan, to your point, and I'm agreeing with you, to keep the narrative going.
But what happens is this, though. It's like a lot of the people, especially when they was young and up and coming. You know, you say you work for a radio station out in ATL, and then the parent station is up here in New York. So now they shift you, who you are native of down south, they ship you up to New York. Now up in New York, you're the program director. The first thing you really want to do is to make sure that your people from down where you was is getting played up here. Yo, I got you going when I get there. Yo, we're going to change the weather. So once it got saturated, you know what I mean? When hip hop first started, it was the East Coast everywhere. Then Cali came. Cali was everywhere. Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, NWA, you know what I mean? Texas made it, you know, Ghetto Boys, like I said, Florida, 2 Live Crew. Then when the South got, you know, when the Dirty South got onto it in their slang or whatever, it stayed there. The crump music, everything was evolving. Now there's different chambers and levels, drill music, so forth and so on. You know what I mean? So
well, it is an industry. The industry. I mean, once again, these are business decisions. There's an industry that's completely built around that. I remember, like I said, growing up here and hearing people from New York come down and be like, "Oh man, shit, this shit is crazy, man. Y'all come down here. I mean, y'all live here, man. These girls are dressing all nasty." And we used to hear that shit all the time. And it's hilarious how the body of a woman eventually does free up the reserves, if you will, for a lot of people, because it then the last place where everyone thought, okay, this was kind of going to stay similarly the same. They don't dress like that over there. Now you see women over dressing like they live in the South over there all day long in New York. You know, where down here it was like that was normal. That was just they don't wear much clothes. It's hot as shit down here. So that's just what that is. It's not because that's a style.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, but I just say like
it's not a style. It's just it's hot as fuck down here, like it would be in the islands. You know, the island women gonna move a little bit differently than people from New York, than women from New York. So you attach that to the music, and the idea of, you know, music now almost literally is designed, if not for TikTok, just the strip clubs. So everything is like for the strip club or TikTok.
Strip clubs or TikTok, and then make a challenge. You know what I mean? Everything's
Right.
challenge music or strip music. Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Which is not a great balance of music, but that doesn't mean.
And that's why I said that we could complain all day, but if no one is going to make an outlet for our music to be played, just like there's an outlet for this trash to be played, there has to be an outlet for good music to be played. Just like there's an A&R that's going to push bullshit, there should be a radio station with A&Rs that's not going to accept bullshit. That's the only way you balance it. If you're going to have the yin, you got to have the yang. You can't be yin, 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 yin all day. You can't do it because there's so many people not being serviced and given music to that they're forced to listen to some of this, and then you got the nerve to hear some of their fans be like, "Oh, this ain't good stuff. Our music is pop. This shit sounds good." I'm like, I don't know one artist from the other. I could listen to 10 songs straight, and I couldn't tell you who. And back when we was up, if you it was forbidden for you to sound like somebody else. You had to have originality. That was a must. Nowadays, you don't have to sound different, and you ain't gotta look different. These dudes is jacking it. They doing this. Everybody's throwing that shit on their voice. I mean, yeah.
Well, if the music is there to sensationalize the worst of us, to simply celebrate and sexualize women, then it's doing its job. Like that's, you know, if you had to say what a great business model is, that's a great business model. It's actually working. The engine is running. I'm just saying the engine is running.
And like I said, the powers that be, like what I said, in the 90s, we all knew who owned these records, who owned these record companies. You know what I mean? It was the Jews and all of that. Who was pushing the agenda for us to destroy our neighborhoods? So now it's the same thing. I mean, if I say, you know what, all we do is belittle ourselves, or our females, we got, like I said, twerking, this, that, and the third. Or we got our young men out there in the street hustling, taking drugs. One of the joints I'll be on. What was that on TikTok? Once I pop you off this perk, you know what I mean. But it's glorified. Like, yo, let me pop this perk and have sex with you, or let me drink this scissor. And so let me be a straight junkie. And this is what they promoting. No program director saying, you know what, yo, we should be doing this because you know what, my daughter, my niece, or somebody, my son, or whatever.
You would like to think you live in a world full of morals, but that's not the case. A person who is faced with losing their job, which, once again, to your point, and I'm agreeing with you, we live in a society right now that promotes absolute selfishness.
Well, this is what I'm gonna say. Not to cut you off, but yo, all you conscious individuals out there who love music, whether it be LeBron James's, this, that, and the third, y'all got access to. Like you said, make a radio station called the Conscious Radio. The Conscious Radio.
We got that here. We got that here. It's called 98.5 The Wire. We're the only station out here that does not deal with a ruthless program director. I've never had to ask him once, can I play this? I play what I fucking want. I can play something from fucking 1970. I can play something right fucking now. I play what I think is dope and what my city needs to hear.
That's good to have that free range because, like I said, like we said earlier, it's places like that where you can break a record and you don't have to have nobody over your shoulder saying X, Y, Z, and then hopefully it has hopefully things make a 360 and you get more people saying, you know what, I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I remember, and this is a true story. I remember when we was in New York. Rest in peace. When Biggie got shot, and I remember Ed Love and Dr. Dre was like, "We're not playing no more violent music on this radio." And I know the program director probably had enough, but we're not playing no more. And they were tired of it. It was just like, yo,
Right, and they were no long. They were fired not too long after that because
they were fired. They were fired not too long after that, and I heard Ja Rule come out with, "I got 100 guns, 100 clips,
right.
and I'm from New York." So it's like this is the agenda that continuously gets paid. I would love to see in my time, like I said, some big wigs, the Oprahs of the world, or the people that, we made y'all great, help make us great. Help think about these kids or think about the future artists that, have a lot to give as far as artistry wise, but we are compelled and condemned to hear one branch of music for these last 10 years or 15 years, like you said, because what happened was this. When you had your DMXs, rest in peace, when you had your DMXs coming out with, y'all niggas want to be killers, get at me, dog. The college, we was going on college tours, and this was the music that these kids in the college was listening to. And they were these, the rich kids that were sending their kids to college and going to spring break, and they was hearing the DMXs and the rough. They were scared, so they wanted to infiltrate hip hop and make it more, more soft. So this is where the R&B infused hip hop softened us up, and that's why you got the Drakes of the world now and his genre of music blasting off in so many different artists, because that, that niggas want to be killers concept was pushed to the side. They had to soften hip hop up, and that's what the big change in hip hop over the last 20 years, I want to say, is the R&B infused music. We don't have no more thumping, rugged hip hop no more. That's gone. You know what I mean? We either have R&B infused, drug infused, twerking infused music. There's no more, hardcore, eat Chuck D, EPMD. I don't hear that anymore.
Well, that's never going to happen again. Like the 70s, one of my dreams of being insane is if I wanted to go back to any decade, it'd be the 70s. But that's never going to happen again. But what we do miss that is actually more possible than anything else is there's always going to be the idea of killing, because we're humans and we're also animals. We're also the kind of people that need to hear the entire story. Nobody goes to a PG movie, and even the PG movies that are going on right now, it doesn't have something that could suggest something that's not PG. Like nobody would watch that movie if it didn't have something in there that was intriguing and told a broader story. The problem is
I think
our music.
I think our time is really looking for that. Not to cut you off, but yeah. I think right here, right now, they're looking for that.
No, we're looking for balance. We're looking for balance.
I think that now, with this generation, that there is no cap on nothing. Everything is just thrown in your face. They're really tired of that.
That shit never works out.
They're really tired of the fact that when you turn on your TV now, every program must contain somebody being gay. You have generations now that are watching old TV programs now, because that wasn't infused in the TV like that. So, and I'm saying this actual fact. Like the kids are saying, like, yo, damn, every time I gotta turn on the TV, two men's kissing and this, that, and the third. They'd rather go back and watch Good Times, or rather watch the Jeffersons or Different Strokes, because it wasn't so hard, because they see what it is. They see that these people are pushing an agenda. People aren't as slow as people may think. People are starting to wake up like, hold on, there's something really, really going on here. You know what I mean?
If your only choice was eating at McDonald's every day, I don't care what era. If your only choice was eating at McDonald's, that shit you would fucking say no. There's got to be something better. And this is what they've left us with: the idea that we're only being served, not from people in our community. A lot of these people don't even live here. That program director is damn near a computer, if not a full computer. They're just following the rule. They just manage the computer and give that information out. A lot of this stuff is fully automated now. It's just based on numbers,
digital,
and clicks.
I got you. Yeah, I got
right.
You.
So it's not even, we're not even dealing with damn near an entire set of humanity deciding this. We're dealing with AI and the idea of what we're supposed to listen to, what's supposed to work. And all of these businesses are interconnected. It's not just an isolated business. A lot of these businesses are invested in private prisons. A lot of these businesses are invested in the unions of the police.
If I'm going to invest in prisons and the defunding of the police and so forth and so on, then yeah, I would want that certain kind of music pushed, because I know if I'm pushing drugs, violence, and sex, eventually they're going to end up in the prison, which I'm funding, and I'm going to get money from the back. I'm going to get money from
right,
it.
because the odds of idiots are great. I mean, we all have what do you call it? We all have the ability to be grand idiots whenever we want to. No one's left out of that. That's God's sense of humor on all of us. We can be stupid when we want to, but they're banking on stupidity ruling the day, and that's why these private prisons are even in place, because they know that there's people gullible enough to listen to a song and be inspired just a little bit more.
No, they know that the programming, it's not that people are stupid enough. What happens is, if once you start defunding the schools and you start taking programs away and you don't give kids anything but drugs, and then you hand them guns, and then you distort their minds, but you don't give them an outlet, you don't give them a source of making money. Come on, man. So
right.
This is what they program. This is what they want. They want us that's what they could easily change that, but we have to take control. We have to take control. We must take control. We
must communicate to one another.
We all have a choice.
We must communicate with one another.
We decided that we with the shit. Whatever they throw out there to us, we want to grab, and we want to try to understand whether it's good or bad. And like a lot of people, whether you take ethnic groups like Asian, Jew, whatever, these successful ethnic groups that are out there, they don't indulge in everything that is thrown at them. You get hit big. Like you up in here in New York, the Asians live in their community, and not to say everybody's drug free and righteous, but the Asians, they stay in their community. They ain't trying to run it out here in the streets and listen and take all these type of drugs. Jews, sometimes they don't even turn their electricity on. You only allowed the Lord watch. You know what I mean? So they know we can't turn on the TV and let our kids watch this because we know the programming and the dumb downing that it does to these kids. So we, as minority and black, we gotta wake up and say, you know what? No TV. Read a book. Reprogram it. We gotta take control of that. We don't have to listen to the radio. And we just said, you know what? Let's boycott the radio because the bullshit that they playing is destroying our neighborhoods. No more radio. No more Hanan. No more of that bullshit.
Right.
They be forced to change their tune, but we feed into it. We think whatever they throw at us black people, we are the biggest consumer whores. Whether it be material, whether it be music, whatever it is that this machine throws at us, we hear like this. Just let it smack it in our face.
Shout out to my man Jesse Jazz. He says, I don't think it's the way we are exposed to the entertainment. I think it's the way people absorb it and don't have balance to it. And he's absolutely right. And that's what I was trying to say.
But everybody's not consciously. But everybody's not going to be consciously. You got millions of people in the world. There's going to be millions of people that's not going to be able to take music like if I'm saying I'm doing drill music. Me and you is going to be smart enough to say like I ain't going to run out there. I could probably listen to drill music all day, but it ain't going to make me go out there and want to grab a gun and kill.
Right, because you listen to things in context. If you're somewhere for a moment,
but you have kids that are in the struggle. You have people girls that's in the struggle. You have people that are being misled. You have peer pressure. All this, everybody's brain ain't built strong enough to think on their own that if they get behind the wrong crowd, they'll be influenced. And sometimes the music.
Right. Okay.
If I'm in a house with 10 juvenile, like I see my nephews or whatever. They in the room. There's 10 of them. Out of 10 of them, 3 of them could be damn near ready psychopaths, ready to kill something. They quiet. It's always you always got to be observant when you see kids and all this, that, and the third. Body language speaks it all. But some of these kids, you could get 10 kids and put them in a room and give all 10 kids the same drug. All 10 kids is going to receive it and react to it differently. You know what I mean? And that's the same with music. You know what I mean? I could be talking about kill, 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 kill. And one kid might be tone deaf to everything that you hear, but the other kid is going to take it and grab toward it, and then whatever evil spirit or whatever demons he may be fighting, it might trigger him to go grab the gun and let off. So,
right. You're right. There's no exact science. But what there is the study of what balance is, right? Like if we lived in a solar system in which it was day 24 hours, we would have to adapt to that. Shout out to Alaska and what they have to do with 6 months out of the year of just constant daylight. They have to create curtains to mimic what it is to rest, right? Like this idea of what balance is may not always just be reliant on music, but the idea of what we are to people. To a lot of people, we are killers. To a lot of people, we are the stereotypes that they've made and have 400 years of these stereotypes and what they not only address to us and the fear that we're still dealing with as cops continue to murder us down, but the self-hate that we have towards one another. Like we take for granted the power of conversation and the power of linking arms. Like one of the greatest things that happened in the 21st century was the idea of what Farrakhan was able to do with the Million Man March. That was a great idea of what presence, of what I'm pretty sure there was a bunch of maniacs in that crowd. Pretty sure there was a bunch of people that may have came out of prison that day to make it to where it was at. But it's not about what people are. It's about what people are exposed to and allowing that to have the context of the movie. And I just want to end it with this example. How many of us have watched Scarface? And yes, we remember the ending of that movie, Scarface. But if that was the whole fucking movie, that wouldn't have been in context. That we would have just looked at that like that was just blood and guts. There's no story to it. But there was a story throughout that movie. And that whole movie wasn't violent. There were just moments in that movie that were extremely violent. And then there was a story throughout the movie that gave you context of why he was violent or why he made those kind of decisions. And without that kind of balance, you don't have the necessary information to make any decisions on your life. And when someone's just giving you double cheeseburgers all fucking day, like we've been talking about, this idea of this music that is cheap, it doesn't require much thought. It's animalistic in a lot of ways. Go get that money, go fuck that bitch. And, there are instructions laid out, but there's no context to it. How did you get to that point where your life is just about strippers and making money? Or just about having the baddest bitch and just making money? Like we don't have the story to back that up. We're not even hearing what led them to that. We're just hearing that they're already there. We're at the end of the Scarface movie with all of these records, with all of this culture. It's just the end. So we start Scarface off. It starts with the fucking Goodyear blimp, and then it's fucking the end. And we don't have the rest of the movie to even make an informed decision, because most people, they lived double lives. We all do, in the sense of there's a negative to us and there's a positive to us. There's an idea that we get angry and then we're happy. We're inspired of people. We're empathetic people. Do we fall short? Absolutely. But when something is not given all of its context, like you were talking about earlier, like Staten Island, being able to tell their story. Like, yeah, UMC's told one side of the story, but they needed to tell the rest of the story. Somebody else needed to tell the rest of the story. So people don't think that that's the only story. This is why it's so important for communication. And this stems from slavery. The idea that they didn't want us to read wasn't the fucking killer part. Wasn't the part that got everybody scared and fearful. It was the fact that we would share what we read. Like one dude reading isn't a problem. Him sharing it with 3 more people and getting them informed, that was the problem. So I had to make an example out of that dude. And this is where we at right now. We got to free ourselves from that plug. No pun intended. Everybody wants a plug. But we need to free ourselves from that plug and start communicating with one another, not only about all the information that is available, but the fact that we do see each other, that we exist, that we're not alone. You're not the only one thinking like that. There's plenty of us. We outnumber the people that are influencing everyone. They're a minority. They don't even have the numbers. We do. We just have to see that we have that power. And once we do, man, it's a fucking wrap. Everything you said we need to have will happen because everybody will be like, nah, fuck that. People in New York will be locking arms with people in Orlando. People in Oakland, California will be locking arms with people in Houston. We'll all be saying the fuck. We'll all be saying that fucking same song. Like enough is enough. You're benefiting off of the worst of us. And even that's powerful. But we're going to change the dynamic of this. And we're going to allow those people to live, but we're going to demand our space to live as well. We need our story to be told too. It's not about attacking the people that are doing things that are not or seem to be on the wrong side of history. They're always going to have a space. That's just a part of the movie. But we shouldn't suppress, because if it's just one thing, then it's a porno. Just like porno is just fucking. It's literally just become one thing, and it's not. It's not a balance.
My porn got storylines to
it. Talk your shit, motherfucker. Talk your shit. My porno come on Cinemax, man. Yes, you're damn right. No, it's straight up, man. I feel everything you're saying. There is a frustration. I tell you out of love, brother. Don't let that become bitterness. Our kids are moving like we did when we were young. We're not hearing that frequency like we did when we were kids. Because I remember when everything was noise to them. That shit sounded like noise to my parents. You know, like what the hell are you listening to?
I'm gonna tell you one thing. Like, yo, as much as you say it, like when hip hop came out, certain people's parents was like that. That was noise. And I tell you, yo, they changed their tune kind of quick. They changed their tune over because you know what? When Chuck D or Public Enemy fight the power, it was like, yo, y'all generation, I'm with y'all. Y'all ain't see that Generation X. We was a little bit different. You know what I mean? So our parents might have been a little reluctant at first, but now. And I know, like you said, it's different generations, the frequency changes, and it's supposed to be that way. But I just thought it was supposed to get better. I didn't think we were supposed to regress. I don't think
we regressed. I just think we're being fed. It's kind of like people that just listen to Fox News. Like Fox News is running the country right now in music, in its programming, and its delivery of this thing of ours. And it's all we've been deboed. The motherfucker that stole it from us, and now they're selling it back to us the way they want it. And that doesn't make any sense because it's ours. Our music comes from poverty.
It goes back to what
nothing.
It goes back to what I said, and anything that they dish out, we hear. Why should we even be in line accepting that nonsense when we know we didn't create that bullshit? We should be throwing that shit back into them and shutting it down. Like Chuck D said, shut that shit down. When does it come? When is a point to say, you know what? Shut that shit down, baby.
Right, and he was, and to put that in context, that man was talking. Chuck D, the brother of all of us, He's our global brother. That motherfucker went after Nike. That whole song was the idea of Arizona, McCain, Nike. He said, shut them all down. Just shut them all down.
Y'all don't want to be down with the Martin Luther King making it a national holiday.
Shut it down.
You're gonna play. And right now, we don't have any artists that's willing to take it because you know what? That's not what's making money. That's not what's going to get you famous. That's what's going to get you big. So there's no artist out there that's going on the edge to say, you know what, I'm going to stand 10 toes down. Well, I'm going to tell you like this, man. It's too late for me. I got to stand 10 toes down. I'm going to make music. And like I said, I'm not just going to make no revolutionary music. I'm making all kinds of music or what.
Tell your story.
But one thing that Pop the Brown Hornet will always do is that you'll always have consciousness from out of me. They can never just get me and just say, you know what, make dumbed down music. Don't make anything conscious. You know what I mean? So sometimes maybe the industry wasn't, you know, especially in these present time, it wasn't made for me. But that's not gonna throw me off my course because I just believe that somewhere, someday, it might be down the line. You know what I mean? That
you're not gonna save the world. That's impossible.
No, it's not about saving. It's not about saving the world, but you have to have an impact. You know what I mean? Your legacy and your impact has to stand for something. You know what I mean? So Bob Marley never was making music to change the world, but he wound up changing the world. So you don't make music to change the world. You be who you are. But if you connected with that universe, you know what I mean? Which we should be. If you connected with that universe, should be coming out your mouth? Because this is the most powerful. The mind is the most powerfulest weapon. When you let off that tongue, comes back to you. So a lot of these drill music artists, they're not here no more. But LL still here, KRS still here. You know what I mean? Dougie Fresh still here. And these are the golden eras. Why? Because what they spit at their mouth didn't come back and kick them in the ass. And that's what artists have to pay attention to. You know what I mean? This right here, what you put out your mouth, is powerful because you're teaching the masses. And that should reign supreme over anything else because we got young youth out here that's growing up. All we doing is promoting generations and generations of drug heads, drug abusers, thoughts, and hoes. That's it. Because if you take our music that we making now and what are we building off of? I hope it's going to make a 360. I swear, I hope it does.
Well, you just shout out to KRS-One, knowledge reigns supreme over everything. You know, like the idea of what, at the end of the day, you should tell your story regardless to what. My point about saving the world isn't saying what you can't do. I'm saying the idea of that the pressure that we put on ourselves as a people, for the weakest amongst us, at times we put these expectations that are completely just impossible. We can't save the world. That's impossible. But what you can do is save or talk to your people. What you can do is communicate with your people. What you can do is fulfill your purpose because there's so many people waiting for you to do you, for you to be who the fuck you are, so they can grab that proverbial, like, you know, relay. What do you call it in the relay race? When you grab that thing, and grab the baton. When you grab the baton, they're waiting for you to run to them so they can pick up the baton. No one knows where they're going to pick that baton up. It could be 20, 25 years in, like Tupac. It could be 26 years in, like, or Biggie, or whoever's died early. We don't know who's going to die and when they're going to die. But your job is to run that baton, not knowing who you're going to give it to. But that's the beauty of it. Your game should be honest. Your game should be what you came to bring, and it shouldn't focus whether the industry is there or not there. We are more powerful than we ever give ourselves credit enough for. We got more family than we would ever know if we only reached out to them, if we only communicated with one another and just talk to each other.
Well, that's
cross state lines, cross country lines.
That's why they push their agenda. Their agenda is to keep us drugged up and drunk, so we're not consciously aware 24/7. And so as long as they have us off balance, then we'll have no desire to want to reach out and keep communications and build with each other because we got a foggy mind. You know what I mean? And that's us on a whole. Like I said, when I name other ethnic groups, the Asians, Jews, and this, that, and the third, they're not out there in these streets indulging and rolling around in these streets, getting high and fucked up all the time. They're taking time outs. You know what I mean? And if they are, then it's not what you do, it's how you do it. They keeping that behind closed doors. But we out in the street with it. We're blatant with it. Whether we shooting at each other, whether we're drugs, you can go to certain black areas in every city. We linked up, looking decrepit, and they have these vices out here to keep us so fucked up that we can't have enough power to join together. And like I said, no, it's not all of us, but it's enough of us. You know what I mean? There's enough of us messed up. There's enough of us locked up. There's enough of us where now their new agenda that they're pushing out is gay. And we got rappers in tutus and purses and with lipstick on and leggings. What I mean, we just do whatever. We gotta, somebody gotta put the pause button, man. We have to push the pause button.
Well, I'll only push back on this, which is the idea of us falling short. I think our problem is we want perfection, and as a result, we have no connection. We want these things to be a certain way, and that's not how the universe.
Well, you gotta work. You gotta work for it. Anything that you want, we work for it. I know.
Well, no, I'm talking about our unity. I'm talking about right now. I'm just centered on our unity.
I got you.
Our unity isn't bound by our sins or what swords we fall on. All is needed. That's how powerful we are as beings. That's how powerful we are as, and it goes back to whatever religion you believe in. All these prophets, the supposed son of God, all of these people were where the people needed help, not the people that had everything figured out. It wasn't the scholars that saved anybody. The scholars were the Pharisees, people judging other people. It was also the people that were full of sin that had the most wisdom because they looked at things from a fair view. We are all dirty out this motherfucker. We are all guilty in this motherfucker. We are all fault in some sort of way. And all of those things are where all the wealth is. Because if you are winning, there's really nothing you can teach me of value. You can teach me to win, but how you can help somebody is how you failed in life, how you fell down and how you got up. You know, if your whole life is just based on winning and money and having things and everything together, you don't need any help, right? Like, God isn't around those people. The universe doesn't necessarily work with everybody that don't need the universe. He's where the people need the universe. The heat, the frequencies, the energy, it goes where the help is needed, where it will be received. One thing about hip hop that is so fucking powerful that I know we always throw under the fucking bus and we don't give it enough credit was that hip hop came from poverty and absolute having nothing. We created industries out of our creativeness about dealing. We turned lemons into lemonade. We are the best people for that. You give us the guts of a pig, we'll turn that bitch into a dish. You give us lemons, we'll turn that motherfucker into lemonade. We are creative people, and there's nothing on earth that can stop our power other than ourselves. You know, and as long as we can communicate to one another in this particular time, thank God for COVID, because COVID has allowed us to value the power of communication. I don't think there's a time in history where we've been talking to each other this much. And I think it's a fucking beautiful thing. I think it's a great fucking thing that we are talking. I'm talking to you. Where you at? Staten Island? You in the island right now? Right. I'm talking to you. God bless technology. I'm talking to my brother from another mother in Staten Island. Never met you today. But I know today I got extended family over there. You see what I mean? Like this whole era right now is the new chapter. We all entered a new chapter together, bro. It's a reboot. You shut the computer down and you boot that thing back up and it's running right. Yeah, this is that moment. And this is how it's so important right now, brother, that we communicate with each other, mistakes and all. We need to find a way to put down our beefs and recognize our power in numbers, bro. You want to change the world? Well, it starts with us, man. It starts right here. You know, we got the power. We need to be the shown examples of what we're talking about right now. And that leads me to your new project. Talk about that with the people there. Tell these people what the hell you cooking out there.
Well, my latest song that I got out right now that I'm promoting is it's called Daydreaming. It's featuring the Force MDs. So it's out there now streaming. Feel free to play it, add it to your playlist. Phenomenal song. As well as with that, I have my latest project that I dropped was called Foreman Mandela. So to anyone who hasn't heard it yet, Foreman Mandela, Pop the Brown Hornet is streaming on all platforms. Feel free to load it into your playlist. Feel free to go to YouTube, check out some of my videos. One of my videos, like I said, my latest one is with the Force MDs. It's called Daydreaming. It's on YouTube. I have a song called Straighten It Out featuring my son Don Dollars is on YouTube. I have a song with King Just. We came here, turned up. YouTube, Daddy Got You, Hustle Hard. So yeah, don't be afraid to come check out some of my latest work that I have out now. The latest song, Daydreaming. I need y'all to call up the radio stations and force your program directors to play that because that's what's going on. It's definitely a barbecue summery song.
Well, shout out to MJ for sending me the music, and we'll definitely be rocking that. And like I said, where can they find it? You said on all platforms. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music,
Spotify, Amazon, all that, man. I'm on all platforms. Just punch me in, Daydreaming, Pop the Brown Hornet. Pop the Brown Hornet, your Foreman Mandela. That album will drop up as well. So like I said, stream some of my latest music, classic hip hop. You won't hear me on the radio, so if you want to hear the exclusive, tune in, stream me, and like I said, kidnap your goddamn program director and tell him to play some Pop the Brown Hornet.
You know what I'm saying? We are advocating that. So our fellow kidnappers out there, if you ain't got shit else to do, go snatch them up, man. I love your whole vibe, brother. I get what we were talking as human beings this past little 45 minutes. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think right now we're living in a world right now also that the more you tell your story, the more people can connect with you. And they feel like they'll get you. I think because we've lost really the mechanical value, it's now a personal value, a legacy value, a purpose value. And I think that value is actually more valuable because it doesn't matter what you put out. At the end of the day, if they know and dig where you're coming from, you got lifelong fans. They're gonna get that. They're gonna want to come see that person. They want to be around that person. Whatever that person is giving away or selling, they're gonna support because they get you. And we need a lot more of that right now. I know we grew up during the time with shit. We just thought they were dope, and that's all we needed to know. But the industry has done harm, but it's also helped us to be a little more open and talk to our people. And I'm definitely glad you came on the show, man, and give our city a view into some of the legacy of Staten Island and what we can look forward to from that area.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. Everybody out there in Orlando, Florida, my auntie Val down there, is he out there in Jackson. I appreciate you having me on your platform so I can speak my word. And I hope I got another Pop the Brown Hornet fan from doing your show. And much love and respect and blessings for you and what you're doing. You know, keep doing what you're doing out there in Orlando, my brother.
Yeah, man, I got no choice. I didn't even want to do this shit. But it's needed. We need this. Like,
Right.
you know, God tends to put things on your heart, you know, or the universe does. And, you know, you just got to follow suit. Kicking and screaming. It don't matter how you get to heaven, right? Even if you're dragged to heaven, that's a great way to be dragged. You
Pop
know,
the Brown Hornet, Daydreaming, Foreman Mandela, streaming on all platforms. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram, Pop the Brown Hornet _ grain related. Follow me on Facebook, Pop the Brown Hornet. Follow me on TikTok, Pop the Brown Hornet. Yo, from out of Stapleton, Staten Island. Bumbo fire!
Give it up for the man, the myth, the legend, Pop the Brown Hornet, representing Staten Island's finest, Shaolin, all things. Let's go, my brother. Thank you for coming on the show tonight, brother. And you're always welcome on the show, by the way. Keep us up to date as you come out with new stuff, too. Keep us up to date with that. All right?
Definitely will.
Give it up for Pop the Brown Hornet. Let's go. Man. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. My man Strange Flow's in the building. Jesse Jazz is in the building. My man Low Balls is in the building. What's going on? My brother, my man DJ J Mob made an appearance tonight, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to all my family, man. You know how we do it, man. This is what we do. Talk to our people. Once again, man, if you guys don't know who this man is, go check him out. 5stargraphics.com. My man DJ Jesse Jazz, a funny guy, great guy to work with. If you need printing, go check the man out. Please believe me. And like I said, it is a Friday, the eve of Mother's Day. If you got a mom, go kiss her. My mom is no longer here, so I'm celebrating from afar. But shout out to all my mamas out there. Shout out to my wife. Shout out to all my baby mamas out there. It's not easy being a mom. Take some time out, buy a rose, talk softly, maybe cook some dinner. Do right. This is the Sound of Orlando show, man. Love to have y'all, man. All day, man. This is what we do out here. Shout out to the entire city. We are working on some big things, man. And it's for you. Let's go.
Live on stage. That sound.
Orlando.
So, is they ready?
Yes.
That sound.